Tonight, a widening war. Israeli troops cross into Lebanon. Hezbollah hits a holy city. It has been the deadliest day of the conflict so far. Safe Harbor, the largest American evacuation since the Vietnam War. We were there when the ships and the helicopters arrived. Stem cell veto. President Bush denies new funding for stem cell research, bringing outrage from some high-profile proponents. And down the drain, the Katrina workers who spent big bucks on dog booties, iPods, and beer brewing kits. It's your money.
From ABC News, this is World News with Charles Gibson, reporting tonight from the Middle East.
Good evening from the island of Cyprus. We have come here to the port city of Larnaca because a flotilla of U.S. warships, helicopters, and commercial vessels is conducting the largest evacuation of Americans since the Vietnam War. Those Americans who want to leave Lebanon are being brought to this port 130 miles west of Beirut. And just a few moments ago, literally as we were going on the air, after midnight Cyprus time, the chartered ship Orient Queen, filled with 1,000 Americans seeking safety, pulled up to the dock behind us. The trip took 10 hours, but for those on board, it was 10 hours of growing relief. The evacuees left Lebanon on this, the 8th and deadliest day of the conflict so far. At least 55 people were killed by Israeli airstrikes in Lebanon today. The prime minister of that country says 500,000 people have been forced to leave their homes because of the fighting, which has claimed overall more than 300 lives in Lebanon. There were casualties in Israel as well. Hezbollah guerrillas fired missiles on the port city of Haifa, and for the first time, Nazareth, striking the biblical hometown of Jesus. 2 children were killed in that mainly Arab city. ABC's Dan Harris is in Israel for us, where he has been following developments today, and there have been many. Dan?
There have been many. Charlie, we start with an ambush today mounted by Hezbollah, which even the Israeli military is calling a success.
The Israeli military says its special forces had crossed the Lebanese border to destroy a Hezbollah outpost when they were attacked.
It was an ambush laid by Hezbollah. They shot, they killed 2 of our soldiers immediately, and many more are injured.
The dead were covered by their comrades. The injured, 9 of them, taken to the hospital. The rescue effort was hampered, however, by a volley of Hezbollah mortar fire.
The Israeli military says today's action does not signal the beginning of a ground invasion. If the Israelis do invade, it will likely be a very difficult fight.
Despite days of pounding Hezbollah from artillery batteries and from warplanes, the group still has the ability to hit back with thousands of missiles.
Let's go next to the building.
Today, Hezbollah sent 10 of those missiles into Haifa, this one packed with ball bearings that ripped through metal poles and street signs. Hezbollah also sent 2 missiles into Nazareth, where the Bible says Jesus grew up. This may not have been the intended target because it is now Israel's largest Arab city. One of the missiles killed 2 Muslim brothers, 3 and 7 years old. They were playing outside. Today, an Israeli general claimed 50% of Hezbollah's arsenal had been destroyed. But the military says there is much more work to be done. Success, says the military, would mean that Hezbollah returns 2 Israeli soldiers it kidnapped last week, that it is disarmed, and that the Lebanese army is sent to southern Lebanon to make sure that Hezbollah stays disarmed.
How much longer do you think this operation will keep going?
It can be more days, more weeks. We don't know. So it will be a long fight. You see, what wants Hezbollah is Israeli land. They want this land. They are doing what they are doing because they want this land. They will not get this land.
And tonight there is this. The Israeli military is saying they bombed a bunker in southern Lebanon tonight, a bunker they believe the leader of Hezbollah, Hassan Nasrallah, may have been in. This would be a major victory for the Israelis. Charlie?
All right, Dan Harris reporting from Haifa in northern Israel tonight. Next, we're going to turn to the damage done in Lebanon. Today, we got a closer look at the destruction from Israeli airstrikes, and it is extensive. The Lebanese Prime Minister, Fouad Siniora, today described it as unthinkable. As I said, more than 300 people have been killed in Lebanon, and ABC's David Wright has been covering the conflict from Beirut, and he joins us now.
Good evening, Charlie. Just a short while ago, we heard a series of loud booms coming from just over there, and that may well be the explosions that Dan was talking about. Israel claiming it dropped 23 tons of bombs. Hezbollah says no bunker hit, no senior leaders killed, and at the dead of night, it's impossible to confirm either way. Whatever it was a big finish on another intense day.
Yeah.
Today, for the first time, the missiles came down on an affluent Christian enclave in East Beirut. The people of Ashrafia thought they were safe from Israel's bombs. Not anymore. We went to see for ourselves what the target was. A pair of trucks used for digging holes for plumbing. Presumably Israel's pilot mistook them for rocket launchers. An honest mistake?
No. It's a message that nobody is untouchable. It's as simple as that.
I'm really afraid, said this woman, cowering in a parking garage. I want to get out, but I'm trapped. She's a household maid from Ethiopia. No ship is coming to rescue her. So far, this neighborhood has just lost its nightlife. Its famous bars and nightclubs are all closed. But in other parts of the country, the degree of loss is staggering. Much of South Beirut has been reduced to rubble. And in the Bekaa Valley, whole villages are now ghost towns. It's simply not safe for people to stay. Not easy for them to get out either. The bombs just keep coming.
It is cutting the whole country into pieces.
This may look like a pleasant afternoon in the park, a welcome relief from all this. But these people are now homeless. They live in this park in central Beirut until they can find someplace else. 500,000 people have been displaced in Lebanon, surviving with whatever they could salvage.
It's unsafe and it's unhealthy to stay here. It's not good to stay here. You're trying to convince people to go, but you can't just convince them. You have to provide a place.
All you have to do is walk around this city. That is when it's safe to walk around, and these days that's not so often. And it's plain to see that civilians are bearing the brunt of this war. Charlie?
David Wright reporting from Beirut again. Well, the Bush administration has been supportive of the Israeli offensive against Hezbollah militants, but as the Israeli air attacks take a great toll on Lebanon itself, there may be some reassessment in Washington, so we wanted to check in tonight with our White House correspondent, Martha Raddatz, on the administration's current thinking.
Charlie, the U.S. is starting to experience some discomfort with the Israeli operation. A senior U.S. official telling ABC News, "We are walking a fine line. We want tough-minded diplomacy, but we also have to be mindful of public opinion, not just in the Arab world, but American public opinion. Americans are becoming more and more concerned about the fate of fellow citizens in Lebanon. They have watched those American citizens be evacuated from the area. So the green light that the U.S. has been giving to Israel will have a time limit. It's unclear whether that will be a week or two." Charlie?
As we have reported this week, thousands of American citizens in Lebanon have been frightened and anxious to get out. They've also been frustrated that it's taken days to get their departure organized. But today, that changed. The exodus began in earnest today. 1,000 Americans boarded the first large ship chartered by U.S. officials. It was orderly, it was efficient, but for those in the vanguard of Americans departing, the Orient Queen couldn't leave soon enough. Everyone carried the cargo most precious to them. As we arrived in Cyprus this morning, 2 Marine helicopters preceded us on the runway, each filled with Americans headed home. And their relief was obvious.
Extreme relief.
Tell me what the last few days have been like.
The waiting has been long. We got there for a vacation of 7 days, and we saw 7 days of war and got out.
They're prioritizing the children, with the mothers with the children first, and the elderly and all those.
Tell me the feeling when you got on the helicopter.
What a relief. We were both. Hooray, hooray.
Tell me what the last few days have been like.
Lot of bomb.
It's scary.
She's scared. I'm scared. I need leave.
It was scary. The last, we didn't sleep in 2 days.
So this must have been quite a shock when it all started.
It was really bad. And the kids were hysterical. They've never experienced such bombing. And they were really scared. But thank God now we're safe.
The constant refrain we heard was God bless America. And as the Orient Queen pulled in just a few moments ago tonight, the reactions were pretty much the same.
No, we were afraid if we didn't leave now, we couldn't leave later. It's really the big reason I left. Because it's just, there's no telling how bad it's going to get. It just does not look like it's going to get any better anytime soon.
Brigadier General Carl Jensen is in charge of getting the Americans out. What assurances have you gotten from the Israelis that those who are coming out will not be in harm's way?
We attempt to be and take great pains to be absolutely apparent to the Israelis and inform them what we are doing, when we plan on doing it, and make sure that they understand that they're as safe as they can be.
Reassurances from Israel, perhaps, but not from Hezbollah. As the thousands of evacuees come through Cyprus over the next few days, many will take chartered planes at government expense back to the United States. The planes are due to start arriving in Baltimore tomorrow. And as we mentioned, the ship behind me, the Orient Queen, just pulled into port as we were going on the air with 1,000 Americans on board. It is testament to the fact that they are beginning their trip home. One other note, the world has been focused on Israel and Lebanon, but there was renewed fighting today between Israel and Palestinians in Gaza. Israeli tanks moved into a refugee camp. At least 8 Palestinians died. Israel, of course, started its offensive in Gaza 3 weeks ago after Hamas militants seized an Israeli soldier. And events in the Middle East have been weighing on U.S. markets, but not today. A barrel of oil closed down almost $1 to below $73 on news of improving supplies. And stocks had one of their strongest days of the year, with the Dow Industrial shooting up more than 200 points and the NASDAQ gaining 37. What fueled the optimism? Reassuring comments from Federal Reserve Chairman Ben Bernanke that inflation was subsiding, raising hopes that the long string of interest rate hikes may be over. Later, we'll have a final note from the Middle East, but when we return, the day's other news, including a veto by President Bush. His first in 5.5 years in office. He vetoed expanded stem cell research, and proponents are livid. And the Department of Homeland Security wasting millions of dollars meant for Katrina victims. Everything from 2,000 dog booties to a plasma TV, all purchased with your money.
This is World News with Charles Gibson, brought to you by Bayer.
He's 50 and at risk. She's 50 and at risk. Doctors know if you're over 50 and have other risk factors, you already face a greater risk of a heart attack. Ask your doctor how aspirin can reduce your risk. Bayer can help prevent 1 out of 3 heart attacks. Only Bayer has low-dose 81 milligram and Bayer Women's Aspirin Plus Calcium. Aspirin is not appropriate for everyone, so be sure to talk to your doctor before you begin an aspirin regimen. She reduced her risk with Bayer. Bayer, working wonders every day.
Hey, try one of these new 100-calorie packs.
It's chips. Yeah, but I bet you get, what, 3 chips in this pack?
No, you get this many. Hey!
Wow. All this for 100 calories? These are good.
New Ritz Chips 100-calorie packs from Nabisco.
Concerned about bad breath? Listerine Pocket Packs dissolve in seconds, killing bad breath germs to freshen your breath instantly. Listerine Pocket Pack strips. Kill the germs, get instant fresh breath.
V8 presents V-Fusion. If you think getting a full serving of fruits and a full serving of vegetables into a single juice is amazing, wait until you taste it. New V8 V-Fusion Juice. Don't just live, thrive.
Cholesterol. It can come from fettuccine Alfredo, but also from your grandpa Alfredo, from barbecue ribs, and from your Aunt Barbie. A healthy diet is important. When that's not enough, adding Vytorin can help. Cholesterol comes from two sources, food and family. Vytorin treats two sources. Only Vytorin helps block the absorption of cholesterol from food and reduces the cholesterol your body makes naturally based on family history. Vytorin was also proven in clinical studies to lower bad cholesterol more than Lipitor alone. Vytorin is not for everyone, including people with liver problems, women who are nursing, pregnant, or may become pregnant. Unexplained muscle pain or weakness could be a sign of a rare but serious side effect. Vytorin may interact with other medicines or certain foods, increasing your risk of getting this serious side effect. Simple blood tests are needed to check for liver problems. So eat right, stay active. But if that's not enough, ask your doctor about adding Vytorin. Two sources of cholesterol. Treat them both with Vytorin.
This is a very uncomfortable situation.
Sales of flatulent. I've remained silent but deadly about this problem so far.
Got gas on your mind? New Gas X Thin Strips dissolve quickly and relieve gas fast. Gas X. Pressure's off.
President Bush did something today that he has not done since taking office. He issued his first veto, rejecting legislation to expand federal funding of research on stem cells from embryos. Scientists say the research could produce treatments for so many diseases, but the president said the research would violate the dignity of human life. Here's our senior national correspondent, Jake Tapper.
Surrounded by enthusiastic supporters, the president announced he'd wielded his veto pen for the first time.
This bill would support the taking of innocent human life in the hope of finding medical benefits for others. It crosses a moral boundary that our decent society needs to respect, so I vetoed it.
The White House has gone so far as to say using embryos for stem cell research is murder. And to make that point, among the guests today were children whose parents adopted them as embryos.
These boys and girls are not spare parts.
But the cheering for the president's position in the East Room stands at stark contrast with the views of the American people in general, about 60% of whom, according to polls, support funding this research. Today, Dr. George Daly, a researcher at Harvard Stem Cell Institute, watched and winced.
For the patients and families afflicted by disease, this presidential veto is a crushing disappointment.
Support for this research has had some very high-profile supporters, including the actor and Parkinson's patient Michael J. Fox, who this morning made an emotional appeal in an interview with ABC News.
It's not only Parkinson's, but as you know, a litany of conditions and diseases that could be addressed by this work.
Some politicians today were less polite.
You listen to the president's speech and you wonder, who was his science teacher? He or she must be very embarrassed.
The political implications of today's veto are tough to gauge, but the scientific community is nearly unanimous in calling its effect on its research disastrous. Jake Tapper, ABC News, Washington.
The search for an AIDS vaccine got a major boost from Bill Gates today. The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation announced it's giving more than $250 million to the effort. $287 million will go to scientists in 19 countries with the goal of creating international collaboration. It is the Gates Foundation's largest donation yet in the fight against AIDS. And researchers have announced the first skin patch to treat the symptoms of Alzheimer's disease. The daily patch contains Exelon. That's a medication now available in pill form. If approved by the FDA, the patch would mean not having to remember several pills and could cut down on side effects. To find out if you could benefit from the patch and the latest on Alzheimer's treatment options, you can log on to our website at abcnews.com. Coming up, from beer to dog booties, what Homeland Security really brought with some of the Katrina relief money.
Part of you wants relief from the turmoil of menopausal symptoms. Part of you doesn't know how to get it. Visit nomenopause.com because part of you isn't clear on the differences between non-prescription and prescription medications. All of you wants to learn what works. Check out nomenopause.com.
At 6'4", 220 pounds, Bob's a formidable man. But he was no match for something less than 1/1,000,000th his size. It KO'd Bob so fast, he didn't know what hit him. It was a clot. Like Bob, if you've been hospitalized with heart-related chest pain or a certain type of heart attack, what doctors call ACS, chances are you've had a clot. But now, Bob's doctor is helping increase Bob's protection against heart attack and stroke by putting Bob on Plavix. Plavix, in combination with aspirin and other heart medicines, helps provide greater protection against heart attack and stroke than aspirin and other heart medicines alone by helping keep blood platelets from sticking together and forming clots.
If you have a stomach ulcer or other condition that causes bleeding, you shouldn't use Plavix. When taking Plavix alone or with some medicines, including aspirin, the risk of bleeding may increase. To minimize this risk, talk to your doctor before taking aspirin or other medicines with Plavix. Additional rare but serious side effects could occur.
Ask your doctor about Plavix today, because no matter how formidable you are, you're no match for a dangerous clot. If you take Plavix with aspirin, continuing to do so will help increase your protection against a future heart attack or stroke. Beyond aspirin and your other heart medicines alone, you may be feeling better, but your risk never goes away. Help stay protected. Stay with Plavix.
I learned a lot when I found out I had high blood pressure, but I didn't know it could lead to erectile dysfunction.
Having diabetes changed my life, but I didn't know it could lead to ED.
Guys should know that having certain health conditions like high blood pressure
or diabetes may lead to ED, and that Levitra can help.
Doctors know Levitra works for men with ED, even those with high blood pressure or diabetes. Levitra is only for men healthy enough for sexual activity. If you have heart problems or are on alpha blocker therapy, talk to your doctor before taking Levitra. Do not take Levitra if you take nitrates for chest pains, as this may cause an unsafe drop in blood pressure. Side effects may include headache, flushing and stuffy or runny nose. To avoid long-term injury, seek immediate medical help if you experience an erection lasting longer than 4 hours. If you have any sudden decrease in vision, stop taking Levitra and call your doctor right away.
Imagine what Levitra can do for you. Talk to your doctor.
The more you know about ED, the more you'll want to know about Levitra.
When Americans need answers on the Middle East crisis, Charles Gibson's right there. In Israel, Lebanon, and right there with the Americans evacuated to safety. To better understand your world, turn to World News with Charles Gibson, your trusted source.
There is a scathing new report tonight about waste at the Department of Homeland Security. In the wake of Hurricane Katrina, federal employees were given government purchase cards to buy millions of dollars worth of relief supplies. But a congressional investigation finds that opened the floodgates for abuse. Tonight, ABC's John Cochran reports what these Homeland Security workers really bought with your money.
A lot of people enjoy a beer at the end of a hard day, but not at the taxpayer's expense, and not when the money was meant to help victims of Katrina. Now investigators have found a Coast Guard official used a government purchase card to buy a beer brewing kit.
We considered this to be an abusive transaction and questioned the use of Homeland Security personnel and resources to brew its own beer.
That was just one of many abuses investigators uncovered.
Well, you have all kinds of problems with waste, fraud, and abuse when it comes to purchase cards.
$208,000 for 20 flat-bottom boats, twice the retail price. $7,000 for Apple iPods. $8,000 for a plasma TV set that was not used. $10,000 for unnecessary rooms at Sea Palms Resort in Georgia. FEMA paid $68,000 for 2,000 sets of dog booties to protect the feet of dogs searching through debris. But the dogs were not accustomed to wearing booties, so they were never used. FEMA was unable to locate $170,000 worth of laptops and printers, which were supposed to be in this conference room in New Orleans. Today, a Homeland Security official said many of the items were suddenly found this week. Senators found the timing suspicious. They found a lot that was suspicious.
People in this country are rapidly losing confidence in the ability of the department to carry out its mission and to do so in a way that safeguards the taxpayers' dollars.
Oh, by the way, you may wonder what Coast Guard officials gave as their reason for brewing beer with your money. They said that making and serving their own beer was a good way to break the ice at official parties. Investigators said it was also a good way to waste your money. Cheers. John Cochran, ABC News, Washington.
And when we return, the long road home, from vacation to war and back again.
Where does your mind go when you go to bed? Well, if you're like a lot of people, it doesn't go to sleep. It replays the day. It looks at what might happen tomorrow. And sometimes it gets tangled up in a list of to-dos and forgot to-dos. Ask your doctor about Lunesta. It can give you and your restless mind the sleep you need. And non-narcotic Lunesta is approved for use night after night if necessary. Lunesta works quickly, so take it right before bed. Of course, do not use sleep medicines for extended periods without first talking to your doctor. Be sure you have at least 8 hours to devote to sleep before becoming active. Until you know how you'll react to Lunesta, you should not drive or operate machinery. Do not take Lunesta with alcohol. Most sleep medicines carry some risk of dependency. Side effects may include unpleasant taste, headache, drowsiness, and dizziness. For a great night's sleep, leave the rest to Lunesta. Ask your doctor.
Red Lobster is bringing you something new. Seafood dishes inspired from around the country, like sweet Maui Luau shrimp and salmon, southern honey barbecue shrimp and chicken, and our New England lobster and shrimp. For a limited time, only at Red Lobster.
She turned around and left the cave, and I'm standing there by the pool of water alone, like I am in all of my dreams. And it just brought up a whole bunch of issues that...
Tym piórze nie ma atramentu.
What?
I wtedy możemy zacząć dopiero pracować.
Using a broker you can't understand doesn't make much sense either. That's why Edward Jones speaks in a language you can understand, so financial decisions get the attention they deserve. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
The human body was designed to move. That's why Serenity developed a revolutionary fabric for their protective underwear that stretches in every direction to gently hug your body for a closer fit than the leading protective underwear. Serenity Discreet Activewear. You move, they move. You're protected. For a free sample, call 1-877-GET-TENA. Serenity from Tena. I know what you're thinking. I'm so thinking. You're thinking Beneful. And there's wholesome grains, real beef, even carrots and peas. Love it so much you only think you're getting spoiled. So happy.
Healthful, flavorful, Beneful. Beneful brand by Purina.
They say there's nothing more powerful than love, but when love turns bad, look out. From a man police say blew up his own home while inside and died just to get back at his wife, to bitter endings and betrayal. Thursday, Primetime's cameras take you to the dark side of love.
Tomorrow, after 7 years of trying to have a baby, one family gets the surprise of their life. A mother and her surrogate, both pregnant, with 2 miracle babies. Now in their first television interview, meet the entire amazing family, only on Good Morning America.
Finally tonight, we have a note about culture shock and dislocation. Put yourself in the shoes of an American vacationing in Lebanon this week. What you got was this: bombardment and destruction. So when you evacuate, where do they take you? To this, a little bit of seaside utopia. In a matter of hours, a complete contrast. But talking to those who fled, you get one overwhelming sense. Most of them could care less about the sun and the surf of Cyprus. All they care about is Syracuse, Seattle, or Savannah. All they want is to get home. That is World News for this Wednesday. I'm Charles Gibson in Cyprus. And for all of us at ABC News, have a good evening and good night.
Tonight, after the encore presentation of this summer's hottest competition, 3 performers will sing for their lives, and 1 will be sent home live. The One, Making a Music Star results show. Tonight, 10/9 Central, only on ABC.
See it, shoot it, send it. When you capture breaking news on your camera or cell phone, email it to Eyewitness News at video@myabc7.com.
The Saturn Vue, with an estimated 29 miles per gallon highway and the highest crash test ratings. And the Saturn Ion, with a 5-star frontal crash safety rating and an estimated 35 miles per gallon highway. The 2006 Saturn Ion and the 2006 Saturn Vue. Great times, great timing. Now get 10% off the purchase of any new 2006 Saturn vehicle at the Saturn Summer Sales Event.
Kaiser Permanente. Thrive.